think I've got it all together. And now we are live. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays with CJ. It's me, your girl, Christian Jackson, the daddy issues expert. I'm excited to be back. It's been a couple of weeks. I don't know that you noticed that I was gone, but I was modeling self care because, frankly, your girl has been burnt out. Okay. If you are new to my channel on YouTube, my page on Facebook, my page here on Instagram, welcome. I'm a licensed therapist here in South Carolina, and I pride myself in bringing you guys content that is going to be raw, authentic, real when it comes to what I think you guys need to know about mental health and wellness. Okay. And so I am a trauma specialist. I call myself the daddy issues expert because I have come from a place of hurt and pain dealing with some of my own issues with my father, right? And so I went to therapy. Frankly, I was triggered. I would journal a lot with my therapist. She had me doing a bunch of assignments, and this is where the book came from, right? So this book, aka a manual, is for people who are trying to deal with the fact that they don't necessarily know how to show up in relationships in a healthy way. Maybe you're struggling with the fact that you have kids who trigger the crap out of you and make you question yourself as a parent. Maybe you are popping off with other people because you are burnt out. And that is a foreshadowing to what we're going to be talking about tonight. What is it that your inner child needs? What does she need to have tended to? Why is it that you are struggling with the abandonment and the rejection issues? And what do you have to do about it? What tools do you have in your tool belt? Maybe you need to kind of revisit those things. This book gives you a chance to see the foundation of what I call daddy issues, right? So I lay out for you clinical language so you know what daddy issues are. According to Christian Jackson, I've done a healing circle based on the workbook, right? So the workbook expands upon what you would get in the book. In between each chapter, I have what I call speed bumps where you have a chance to ask yourself self-reflection questions. So you read a book of a chapter about daddy issues and marriage or daddy issues and dating, and then you get a chance to answer some questions for yourself and have activities that are corresponding with whatever you might have read before, because frankly, it can be pretty triggering. So I like to call my system here, which I know works because I've really been doing it for a long time with people in individual therapy. It's a system that I think is what I like to call like a year and a half of therapy, right? So that you can kind of get your life together by yourself. So then I started to develop a daddy issues healing circle. I offered it in the spring. It's super exciting. I had 6 women sign up, and we went through the daddy issues, how to detangle from the sins of our fathers workbook. And we did it together live for 8 weeks, and it was amazing. And I really wanted to do it again here in the fall. That did not work out, right? So let me shift into what we're talking about tonight, right? The reason why I have taken a break is because I have had so much going on with myself mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally, right? So I needed to kind of step back and recalibrate what I had going on. I'm not going to say it's triggered by what I was just talking about, right? Like I wanted to really do the healing circle again. I wanted to offer it to people and say, like, I was fighting kind of like my last live, which was I'm fitting a square peg into a round hole, right? So part of my brand has kind of become, not only am I a licensed therapist, I specialize in trauma. I can do EMDR with you and really shorten the time you have in therapy to address those childhood traumas. I'm also supporting other therapists who want to maybe do their own group. I had a successful training last week. I presented it twice and it got really good feedback. My brand has also become, let's see if Christian can figure out how to be an entrepreneur, a successful one, right? I've gotten so much love and feedback from my books, right? So people are loving and enjoying the content. They are being triggered in the best of ways. And I say that meaning that they are aware of their issues and then like, oh, okay, this is what I do about it. It's not as big and as scary as I thought, because that's what I want you to feel. When it comes to your mental health, I want you to brave whatever it is that you were told you weren't good enough to handle or strong enough to handle. And part of that has been you guys watching me kind of live out some of my traumas. A lot of my daddy issues come from questioning who I am. My self identity was really rocked, my security issues, right? And so, as you're watching Couch with Christian and seeing all the beautiful things, and I'm appreciative of everything you're saying, y'all, there's so much work that goes into this whole thing. So, I have really been struggling in the background trying to figure out what is it that the world wants to see from Christian Jackson. I fell into the trap accidentally. I missed and fell into it because there's so much reinforcement, and I'm just like, I have to top the thing. I have to help the people. What's going on, right? And that is where I want to go to tonight. We got to talk about burnout, you guys. So if you're watching right here on Facebook and my YouTube channel, you see this nice little setup here. Thank you. Shout out to StreamYard, where I have a definition of what burnout is. Once you get to know me, go back and check my content. You'll see I like to give a language, right? Working clinical language so that we all know what we're talking about. Burnout. I know you know what that is. You've heard of it before. It's basically a term that describes that we are really kind of pouring from an empty cup. All of our engines are burnt, but we're burning the candle on both ends. That's the term, right? Like we are in a space where we are dealing and working against ourselves, I think, right? And so now we have nothing left to give from the spiritual, mental, physical, emotional spaces to give to ourselves, let alone anyone else. So what you're seeing here up on the screen is that burnout is a syndrome conceptualized as a result from chronic workplace stress. That's where we usually go first, right? And I want to submit to you that burnout applies to way more than just our jobs, right? We may be trying to find out what that work-life balance looks like. And so it probably applies to your job, but think about the fact that we work in different realms and different areas of our lives, right? Like it's not just with the people that pay us. And so it's really leaning towards the fact, it's highlighting the fact that we are not successfully managing all the symptoms and things that come with burnout. How do you know that you are burnt out? And so I want to again kind of add on to our discussion tonight, our framework, our definition. Signs of burnout: irritability. Are you popping off at people? Are you snapping at people normally when you would not normally do that? Are you kind of sick, breaking down, sickly, as the old people used to say? How is your body responding to the stress that you are putting onto her or him or they? What is happening, right? And so, if you are getting those physical signs of stress, where maybe I am having a little bit of irritable bowel, where like your stomach is tightening up, maybe you throw up a little bit after you are coming from a meeting, you're super exhausted, your body is asking you to eat, but maybe your body's even too tired to eat. Has your appetite changed? Has your sleep pattern changed? All of these things I want to point out are symptoms of anxiety, right? So your body is building up all this stress, and we can only take so much. And that is the huge piece that I really want you to walk away with from tonight. If you don't know cognitively here that you are burnt out, your body's going to tell you. And so I was having a discussion today about how you can kind of look at red flags. How do you know that you're burnt out? These are like some concrete ways, but how do we get to a space where we recognize burnout before it's too late? Too late meaning I'm already kind of puking every day because I just don't feel good, or I'm breaking out with a cold or a fever, or my immune system is literally attacking itself because I'm so stressed out. Physical discomfort, okay, that kind of sums it up. Now, what I also want to get into are reasons for burnout. We know what it is, right? So it's conceptualized by a chronic workplace stress. And I'm just going to say stress that we're just where we're not managing what's coming along with it, right? And so you're in this space where you're super duper stressed. You're going to work because you're just used to working. You're going to be on autopilot because the way your trauma is set up, if you stop, then somehow we feel unsafe, right? So just thinking about the primitive function of our brain, fight or flight. If I'm running through the wilderness and there's a bear that may potentially come get me, then I'm in a space where, okay, I need to run and hide from whatever's going on, right? What is it that you may be running from? Is a question that I would ask if you were my therapy client. What is it that has you hiding in the bushes? What are you running from? What's got you so uncomfortable that you don't think that you are strong enough, brave enough, smart enough, you fill in the blank, able to handle it, right? A lot of the reasons for burnout are in our head. And I don't mean that in a gaslighting way, meaning I'm trying to shift your reality and tell you that your feelings are not valid. What I mean is, we are usually in a space where we're overthinking things. So the things that we fear the most are likely not even going to happen. You can get burnt out just by mentally being in a space where you are ruminating and having plans A through Z, because you have to have these plans to hang on to in order to feel safe and in control. I was actually listening to a trauma training or something at one point a few weeks ago, and one of the presenters said that the opposite of trauma is not help, right? Not necessarily. The antidote to trauma and managing trauma symptoms, like those related to burnout, is control. But they always tell us too much of a good thing is not that great, right? If you have so many plans from A to Z to gain the control, then imagine how stressful that is for you to have all cylinders going, right? Your brain working all the time, your amygdala, that part of your brain that scans for a threat, whether it's an emotional threat, physical, mental, spiritual, whatever it is, even if it's an actual threat or a perceived threat, your brain is working all the time to make sure you're safe. Because what's happened is you have learned at some point in your life, likely when you were young, that you did not want to go through whatever that hurtful thing was. So your body said cortisol levels up from now on, walls up, alarms on, we are set to go. We're going to be ready because I don't want to feel this hurt and this pain anymore. So we have to realize that part of your process when you are working through your daddy issues, for example, where relationships are just really tough and you're showing up in a space where you're more avoidant, not really wanting to tap in to have intimate connections with people, for example. A lot of women that come to me for daddy issues, that is part of their story. We're exhausted trying to protect ourselves from being hurt. So this on the screen from Facebook and YouTube is saying stuff like you're working long hours, and this is because burnout is usually applied to work stress when we're talking about our jobs. And so I pulled the definition from some blog or something like that on the interwebs, just so I can have something to kind of help me along tonight. But I would submit to you that the long work hours could be you working hard to address your physical unsettledness, your insecurities, the fact that you don't feel safe. You're probably working long hours because you're in your head to figure out how I'm going to show up in this space. I want to be intimate with this person and let them see the whole of me and be vulnerable. But I'm working really hard also to make sure that I'm keeping all ears open or both ears open for the time that the other shoe is going to drop. That can lead to burnout. If you're not setting boundaries, then you're also in a space where you're leaving yourself open to take on so many different things. Is it hard for you to say no? Because you're likely going to expedite that journey to burnout where you are just giving something to everyone else but yourself. And that would lead me into the lack of support. So if you are doing all the things by yourself, you may be in a relationship with somebody who is completely supportive and amazing, but you're not able to even receive it because you are overthinking, again, being in your head about the other shoe dropping. So that is exhausting. Think about how tiring that is. And the extreme anxiety, meaning that excessive worry about so many different things, that it gets so heavy sometimes that we are physically feeling it on our bodies. And that and a host of other things are just a few different things that I know lead to burnout and things that you probably have experienced. I want you to fill in the blank there for yourself. What is it that you know is leading to a space of, again, irritability, where we're in our heads and we're snapping at other people? We are kind of sick, maybe exhausted and tired, and your body is literally telling you, please get me some rest, leading to the exhaustion. Another thing I haven't even said was the isolation piece. So, because I am in a space where I am so tired and exhausted, I'm going to try to work through this thing, but you get to a point where you hit a brick wall, you may push other people away. So now you're alone because maybe you only have the energy for yourself and you barely have that. So are you pushing people away? I would like to say that things like workplace stress, for example, like when we're talking about burnout, if you are doing things like for counselors, for example, is that one client getting on your nerves? And I'm just going to say the thing that most therapists don't say. If you find yourself canceling on the same client a lot, you may want to ask yourself why this person is probably triggering you, right? And why you don't want to meet with these people. You're isolating, you're pushing away things that you would normally like to do, which I want to say there is an overlap here. And we're talking about burnout. Likely it's related to things like anxiety, if you haven't picked that up yet. and depression, where you're feeling down in the dumps and always kind of feeling like that insecurity and that worthlessness. Because if I'm so tired and I'm so fatigued, I'm just not fulfilling my duties the way I used to. I'm not showing up in this space, in this relationship like I normally would. And so now it kind of reinforces a possible deeply rooted narrative of not being good enough, which is very, very close to that depression, that sadness that we feel. Lots of things are on spectrums. I talk about that a lot when I'm doing individual therapy, when I'm doing trainings and things and talking about these various mental health symptoms. There's a scale, right? So maybe you're not fully meeting diagnosis criteria for a major depressive disorder, but there is sadness there. Maybe you do not meet criteria for a full-blown PTSD diagnosis, but you are avoiding, right? That's what I'm talking about when we're talking about burnout and isolation. You are like going out of, meaning you're literally going out your way to avoid somebody. You don't even want to be in the same space as this threatening piece, this threatening relationship, this threatening thing. Maybe you are having flashbacks about something and you remember the time where this thing happened and you literally feel like you're in this space where you were in so much danger where you thought you were going to die. Again, stress and anxiety, all these things link to burnout. And I want to say for people who are diagnosed with a full PTSD diagnosis, or at least very consistently feeling and experiencing these post traumatic stress symptoms, that is definitely one of the most tiring experiences, because someone who has those PTS symptoms are always on 10. Like I talked about that part of the brain, the amygdala, that always scans for threats or perceived threats. That is extremely exhausting for your body to be in a state of ready. That is an overhaul of a cortisol hormone, that hormone that is stressful. It's the stress hormone, and it helps us to stay alert. We can't take so much of that. That's like drinking a million Red Bulls and your body is always jittery. Have you thought about the fact that your jaw needs to be relaxed? Do you wear your shoulders like earrings, like my friend Jessica said one time, so anxious that your body is wound up? Those are PTSD symptoms from someone who was hypervigilant and thinking about what and who and how they're going to get got, right? That can lead to burnout. It's so closely related. So I want you to think about, and again, fill in the blanks for what you are experiencing when it comes to how much you are stressing things, what you are worried about, and where that anxiety comes in. The more you are experiencing these things, of course, it's going to lead to that burnout piece. Now, I'm not going to leave you guys tonight without tips, right? And so I just want to leave you with three things that I thought about after kind of doing some research and trying to make this as succinct as possible when it comes to dealing with burnout. And one of the first things that I saw was meeting basic needs. And so I'm thinking about how we address burnout. And I don't know if you guys are familiar. If you're a therapist, you may remember the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so that's where you have 5 basic needs. And that is like, well, not 5 basic needs. I'm going to Google it right now while we're on here. Are you sleeping? Are you eating? Right. So there is a graphic that you can probably find if you just Google Maslow, Maslow, apostrophe S, where you're looking at physiological needs. So are you hungry? Do you have shelter? Are you warm? Like if you're trying to at least make sure that you're working different angles on this burnout thing and this extreme anxiety thing, is you taking care of yourself physically? Period. Do you feel safe? The next tier. Do you feel emotionally safe, mentally safe? Likely you do not. And I see Jessica here of Envision Counseling is saying that the toxicity of if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. That is your body on 10 most of the time to address safety issues, right? How are you actually addressing that? Do you feel belonging? So are you connecting to other people? Because we take so much on to ourselves. We feel like we have to do everything on our own. And so, of course, that belonging piece is going to be so important when it comes to really kind of relieving that stress and sharing the load. Who is it that you can trust in your circle to do that? How do you feel about yourself as far as self-worth and esteem? And then it says on that pyramid, that's Maslow hierarchy of needs, that is how you're going to reach self-actualization, meaning you're going to be the best self if you address those things. And so burnout comes with meeting your basic needs. Like I broke down the whole Maslow's thing, but I really want you to make it simple for yourself. And just, when's the last time you ate? When's the last time you got some good rest? And if you are finding that those things are harder to come by, then again, start from the basics. What's getting in the way of doing those things? The second tip I have for you in addressing burnout is taking something off of your plate. I talked about connectedness and belonging when it comes to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That means sharing the load and looking at your support system. And so I found it really important for me in my entrepreneurial journey, trying to figure out and do all the things, is finding people in my circle who are smarter than me, who have more experience than me in certain areas, or who's ever hired an assistant. How can I outsource this thing? That is going to be super important for us too. So if you have a family structure where you can afford to maybe teach your children how to do their own laundry or clean the bathroom, you don't have to do everything. Think of it as teaching them life skills, right? And so I've taught my kids how to do that. My son, he's 10. Our 4-year-old is learning just little by little what he can do. I am not going to be burnt out and do all these chores in this house. It's actually one of my favorite things to do. I like to take care of my family. It helps me have control, and that's an issue of mine that I'm trying to work through. But in order to feel like I can keep a handle on things, our 10-year-old knows how to do his laundry. He can do the dishes. He can clean the bathroom. He cleans his own room because he's learning how to be a human being. And then also, I don't have to worry about managing my own stuff as well as all the things. I can spread the love. I can go to my husband and ask him to do the same thing. So, what can you reasonably take off your plate so that you're not leaning towards burnout? And the last tip I have for you is setting boundaries. Are you able to say no? And that's a really hard thing sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I deal with that myself. Are you saying no to yourself? Because sometimes you do want to take on all the things. So, like, again, going back to what can you take off of your plate? Are you getting in your own way with that? Are there unhealthy people that are in your life? Who do you need to set a hard boundary with? And, start slow. Make an assessment. Who is it that is going to kind of shift you away from your own values, which is a whole nother talk. Assess that first, because I do want to make it really realistic for you and reasonable that when you are setting boundaries, especially with people or making any sort of change, you want to do something that you're more likely to do. So if it's more manageable for you to say that you're going to watch your sister's kids one less day than you normally would, try that. Or ask her to be on time, which is picking up her kids. Do that so that you are setting a boundary and teaching people how to treat you. A lot of what I have going on when I'm in individual therapy with the women that I treat, and especially for daddy issues, is that boundary piece. Relationships are really hard for women who are dealing with the abandonment and rejection issues and trying to have healthy relationships because they haven't had a chance to practice that, right? And so more about my book, you can find it actually on my website. It's at couchwithchristian.com. I have the website going up here on the Facebook and the YouTubes. I also wanted to direct you to the link in my bio where you can purchase the books. It's a really great tool because it gives you practical steps like I have tonight, right? You need to know how to do things. I'm giving you hands-on stuff to kind of talk about what you have going on when it comes to setting boundaries. What is it that you have that's getting in the way of you being able to take care of yourself and manage this burnout piece? So part of that is seeing what's going on with the daddy issues movement, right? Get to know me, catch my vibe, my content. As I wrap this up, I'm going to invite you to go back and watch replays of things, give me feedback, let me know what you want to see and what you want to do. I do want to make an announcement. I do see a few of you guys here live. Hey, Taylor, I see you, sis. On Instagram, I am Taylor Chandler. Love her. Y'all follow her page. If you have not found her, she is the attachment guru. Love her. It's amazing. Find her and get into what she has to offer. I am revamping the healing circle. So I want you guys to know exclusively here that I have been cooking up some stuff. If you follow my Instagram, I keep my stories pretty current. Like I said, my brand has turned into not only supporting survivors of mental health stuff and making sure you have access to care and information and treating people. My brand has become more than that. You guys are watching me roll out and looking at the peaks and valleys of my business and trying to figure out this whole entrepreneurial thing. And I am doing another thing, taking another risk and trying something new. I had to figure out how to offer the healing circle in a different way. So what I figured out so that I am not burning myself out, right? Trying to push something that is not necessarily taken off, not because it's not good, Let me make that very clear. It's because it's so much information, right? So I give you so much between my book and my workbook. And so what I'm doing is offering it in chunks. I have been surveying the Overcoming Daddy Issues group that I have of about 300 women on Facebook. I have been surveying friends. I have been putting up some surveys on my stories. If y'all see me doing that, please, please, please respond because I just need to hear from the people. I'm doing market research, right? I've been asking the people, and the most popular chapter by far is the Dating with Daddy Issues chapter. And people want to know what that's about. Let me tell y'all something. It's not going to tell you how to find a partner because I'm not a matchmaker. That's not what that chapter is about. But what I'm going to do is break down each element, each chapter, each module that I will present in the Daddy Issues Healing Circle in sizable chunks. And so what I did today was sign up for Thinkific. I heard good things about it. So I'm going to try some online courses. This is me working smart and not hard to the point of burnout. Okay. And so I'm launching some stuff. I'm really excited about offering you guys a free webinar, which I'm going to find some time to put together before the end of the month and then have some special rollouts for the holidays and for Black Friday. So I got a plan in my mind. I don't want to give you all the tea, but I want y'all to know I have been working and thinking these last couple of weeks about how I can be a good steward of my time and yours so that you can receive everything. And I am fully willing to hear feedback about what you guys want to hear and how you think this is going to go. So look out. The Daddy Issues Healing Circle is going to be under something I'm calling the Grace Academy. And I'm playing with the names, right? So it is going to be getting rid of shame and something, something, something. I have it written down, but y'all know I like a good acronym. GRACE is the same acronym I share with y'all as a major key at the end of my book to address daddy issues. So the Grace Academy finna be lit. I didn't even plan to say that. It's live TV, but I have some good things cooking and I'm hoping that you guys enjoy. If you enjoy this video, if you like my content, please subscribe, like and share, comment, let a sister know, let a brother know what's going on at Couch with Christian because I am here hopefully to stay. So that's it. I've been Christian Jackson, y'all. I'm tired. I done had a long day. I'm at Taekwondo 5 days a week with both of my boys. So I'm going to take my behind to sleep. Y'all engage with me. I love it when you guys DM me and send me all the nice things. Thank you guys for showing up live. You have a great night. Hey. All right. So I just finished up IG. Thank you, Facebook and YouTube. I will see you hopefully next week.